hold on, folks. I gotta set something up here. But I wanted to talk about something that I mentioned briefly in my Extreme Rules preview, if you will. I mentioned the fact that you have 3 main event caliber matches, but only one can truly close out the show, right? And I gave my reason as to why I believe one of them is going to be it. And that one, of course, is Cena and Wyatt. Now, as intriguing as Shield Evolution is, and as worthy as it should be to main event and close out Extreme Rules, and as over as Daniel Bryan is, and as in the eyes of some, as intriguing as his situation is with Kane and Stephanie, and now you got the involvement of Bray. Unfortunately, these 2 matches, as intriguing, interesting, and as much time, if you will, and I know I say that 3 words a lot, but if you will, has been put into it, there is no doubt in my mind that as much time has been put into these, equal amount, if not more time, equal amount, if not more time, has been put into Wyatt Cena. And when you add in the fact that they're going to have a match inside the original Extreme Rule match, in the original match of Extreme, the classic steel cage match, if you will, then there is no doubt in my mind that that's got to close out the show. And also, from a business aspect, do you think WWE really wants to go another pay-per-view without their main guy in the main event closing out the show somehow? Do you think they want to do that? No. They want to make sure he's in a main event. They want to make sure that he closes out the show. Now, I know some people feel that it's ridiculous that this match is happening, and that it shouldn't happen. Well, guess what? As long as there's people writing this stuff, you're not going to get rid of it. End of story. As long as people are writing it, you're not going to get rid of it. And the reason, again, why I believe this is going to close out Extreme Rules is not just because it has a little bit more time added, dedicated to it every week on Raw and SmackDown. Not only the fact that, again, it's inside the original Extreme match, the steel cage, but it's the fact that WWE is not about to go throughout the beginning of the year, the first 5 months, the first half of a year, without John Cena being in 1 or 2 closing main events. In other words, they're not going to have an event where John Cena, before we hit the first half of this year, does not main event and close out a show. Now, you might say to yourself, it doesn't make sense. Why would they want to close out the show with Cena and Wyatt? Well, one, it would, even in defeat, or even surprisingly if it happens victory, it elevates Bray Wyatt to say, hey, look, you've gone from basically opening up SummerSlam, if you will, if you shall, or whatever you want to call it, to doing what you did throughout all of 2013, to opening up in basically the match of the year so far, as some fans have called the sickest match they've ever seen in WWE so far, against Daniel Bryan and winning in that opening match, as well as having a dream 6-man IWC Classic against the Shield and winning, if you will, to basically being in the middle of the card, and basically you could say the first hour main event of Mania, first hour into second hour main event of WrestleMania with John Cena, and having a great match there, to now you're going to probably close out the show at Extreme Rules. And to me, what this does is it elevates Bray Wyatt in victory or defeat, because this is the proving ground for him. It's going to prove whether or not Bray Wyatt is ready to be a main event guy. And like I said, in defeat or victory, this is the stepping stone. This is it. Now you might say the same for the Shield and Evolution and why that should be the main event, and that is true. But the way I see this going down is you're going to have the three main events closing out the show. You're going to have the WWE title, the six-man, and then the cage. End of story. End of story. And I know there's a lot of fans out there, a lot of Daniel Bryan fans, a lot of IWC fans that are going to be pissed at this perspective. But you know what? If you're giving more time to this feud, how can you not close out Extreme Rules? And again, you take a look at what they put Bray Wyatt throughout his entire run. He opens up SummerSlam in an Inferno match, Ring of Fire match with Kane. He does his things. He does all his other things throughout 2016. The Survivor Series match he was part of. 2013, not 16. What am I saying? I got a lot on my mind. But 2013, he does everything there. And then, like I said, he opens up in probably the best match of the year and the most sickening match of the year against Daniel Bryan by WWE standards, and wins at the Royal Rumble. Wins in a classic, as far as the IWC is concerned, classic six-man tag match against the Shield at Elimination Chamber. Has a great match, if not dominating performance, even in defeat at WrestleMania in basically the first hour, into second hour main event with John Cena. So now this is why I believe it's going to main event. It's going to close out the show, because WWE officials are going to be like, okay, Bray, this is your ultimate test. Defeat, can you show us, even in defeat or victory, depending on how they book it, can you show us that you're ready for the big time? Can you show us you're ready to be that main event star? Can you show us that if we decide, hey, we're going to put you over at Money in the Bank and let you become a Money in the Bank winner and let you walk out of 2014 as WWE World Heavyweight Champion, this is your opportunity. And so we're going to close out the show with you and John Cena in the cage. And that, to me, is the reason it's going to close the show. Again, with all due respect to any Daniel Bryan fans out there, and believe me, I'm a Daniel Bryan fan myself. I am. But with all due respect, the only way Daniel Bryan's going to close out the show very soon is against Orton or Batista, against Cena, or against maybe Bray Wyatt, if Bray can prove himself by closing out Extreme Rules. That is why I believe the cage is going to go on last. Now you can argue with me and you can say that's not going to happen. Well, you know what, folks? I believe it is. It's my opinion. And if you watch WWE, I didn't watch this past Raw except for the ending. If you watch WWE and you saw what they did on Raw this past week, you've seen what they've been doing for the past few weeks, you saw what they're doing going to WrestleMania. If this does not show you that out of all this time they've dedicated to this rivalry, to this feud, to this storyline, which is probably the most intriguing storyline they've had going for a long time, by John Cena standards, if you will, then if this doesn't prove to you that they're going to close out Extreme Rules, then it's wishful thinking on your part. I mean, yeah, I believe. Let me make this publicly straight before I close this. Let me make this perfectly straight to you guys. I truly believe that as over as Daniel Bryan is, he should close out Extreme Rules against Kane in an Extreme Rules match and win. I truly believe he should. Let everybody go home happy. I believe that if you're a fan of the Shield and Evolution, that yes, as intriguing and as built up as that is, it too should close out the show. But despite all that, we're talking Steel Cage, the original Extreme Rule match, the original match of Extreme. We're talking probably a storyline with John Cena, the face of the company, that has been given more time than anything on both Raw and SmackDown throughout the past few weeks, if not past few months. And as over as Bray Wyatt is getting, to me, this is his moment. And this is why it's going to main event Extreme Rules and close out Extreme Rules. So, that's all I'm going to say on it. You let me know what you think. Tell me if you agree. But that's how I feel. And that's all I'm going to say. Peace out. God bless.